He said, honey, honey, you know that I love you. See, but I gotta go.
It's been 53 years since Janis Joplin died, and it's still baffling why the people close to her called her ugly. But the saddest part is not the name they called her, but how the constant bullying she faced throughout her life pushed her gifted soul into destructive habits that eventually led to her mysterious, untimely death. Although she was famous and well-revered on the outside, she died young, angry, lonely, and with a lot of self-doubt. But how did it start for her? Did she really die from a hotel mishap? In this video, we'll uncover the untold stories of the iconic Janis Joplin while showing you some of her rara photos for you to judge if she's really as ugly as they said. Janis Joplin was born in 1943 in Port Arthur, Texas, to Dorothy and Seth, into an average family. From the earliest moments, it was evident that Janis was unlike her siblings, a unique soul in her own right. Growing up in Port Arthur was tough for Janis, as she felt confined and out of place. She had to deal with bullying, alienation, and rebellion. As an adolescent, she gained weight and developed acne, which left her with deep scars that required dermabrasion. And to make matters worse, students in high school would regularly mock her and call her names. "I was a misfit," she said. Janis felt trapped in a small world that didn't understand her. And even after graduating in 1960, she couldn't find her path. She attended college in Texas and also had a couple of bad experiences there also. Eventually, she dropped out in 1963 to chase her music dreams, especially folk and blues. Janis consciously embraced a rebellious image, drawing inspiration from female blues icons and the beat poets. Her music journey began to take shape, and in December 1962, she recorded her first song, "What Good Can Drink and Do," at a fellow University of Texas student's home. These were the early steps of her incredible musical career, one that would touch the hearts of many for generations to come. And in January 1963, Janis Joplin made a big move. She left Texas with her friend Chet Helms for North Beach, San Francisco. Her reason was simple. She needed to escape as her mind was in a completely different place. San Francisco, with its vibrant culture, became her new home, marking a significant turning point in her life. Still, in 1963, Janis found herself in trouble. She was arrested in San Francisco for shoplifting, and it seemed like the beginning of a turbulent journey for her. In just 2 short years, her reliance on drugs grew, earning her a reputation as a speed freak and an occasional user of heroin. She also dabbled in various mind-altering substances and battled heavy drinking, with Southern Comfort being her drink of choice. It's heartbreaking to see how she struggled with these issues throughout her life. As time passed, the corrosive effects of her frequent methamphetamine injections took a devastating toll on her. She became shockingly thin, a mere ghost of her former self, with some cruelly describing her as skeletal and emaciated. Concerned for her deteriorating health, her friends organized what they humorously called a bus fare party to help her find her way back to her roots in Port Arthur, Texas. Her return to Port Arthur in the spring of 1965 was a turning point in her life. Janis, once full of vitality, was now a fragile figure. Weighing just 88 pounds despite the odds stacked against her, she was determined to change her course. She took a bold step saying goodbye to drugs and alcohol, embracing a unique beehive hairdo, and enrolling as an anthropology major at Lamar University in nearby Beaumont, Texas. It was a desperate effort to break free from the chains that had bound her for so long, and in the fall of 1965, something exciting happened in her life. Janis got engaged to Peter DeBlanc. Their love story began in San Francisco, when Peter, an IBM computer worker from New York, sought her father's blessing for their union. They both envisioned a bright and joyful future together, and wedding preparations were in full swing. However, life had other plans for their love story. Peter, due to his demanding work-related travels, faced the agonizing decision to call off the engagement. It was a depressing and unexpected experience in Janis's life, but she refused to let it drag her back into her old, destructive habits. Between 1965 and 1966, while Janis was still on her journey of self-discovery, she regularly met with a psychiatric social worker named Bernard Giarratano in Beaumont, Texas. These meetings were part of a counseling agency supported by the United Fund, which is now known as the United Way. In interviews conducted by her biographer Myra Friedman after Janis's passing, Giarratano revealed the depths of Janis's internal struggles. He explained how she faced a daunting challenge, the desire to succeed as a professional singer, constantly at odds with the fear of being pulled back into the drug-infested world that had haunted her prior to returning to Port Arthur. Her determination to overcome these demons was both inspiring and heartbreaking. As she aimed for a better future, she told her parents about going to Austin to join a rock band. The painful truth, however, was far from her words. She was actually in San Francisco, and her family was left heartbroken by her deceit. But in the middle of all her lies, one person stood by her side and offered much-needed support. Stephen Ryder. He tirelessly worked to shield her from the clutches of addiction, even if only for a little while. Then, in 1966, the band went to Chicago, but things didn't go well. Their dreams fell apart because the person who was supposed to help them ran out of money, and they were stuck in a city that didn't show them any kindness. They signed with Mainstream Records, but the music they recorded in Chicago didn't turn out as great as they wanted. They went back to San Francisco, holding on to their dream, but it felt like it was slipping away. Then, on July 31st, 1968, a ray of hope appeared as Janis made her national TV debut on This Morning. However, this hope came with a stroke of misfortune. The people at the TV station accidentally erased the video, so all that's left is the sad audio, reminding us of her sad story. Luckily for her, in 1968, the band had their first album with the major label, Columbia Cheap Thrills, and it was a big hit, reaching #1, and Piece of My Heart climbed to number 12 on the charts. Janis, once an outsider, had transformed into a strong-willed rock icon, and her voice expressed her innermost emotions, from pain and joy to love and intense loneliness. But even with success, her personal demons continued to hunt her. She left Big Brother and the holding company to form a new band called the Cosmic Blues Band, which seemed like a fresh start for a while. However, the temptation of heroin pulled her back into its deadly grip. By early 1969, she was reportedly spending $200 a day on heroin, a destructive habit that did not even include the recording of I Got Dem Old Cosmic Blues Again Mama Could Break. The album's producer, Gabriel Meckler, tried to protect her from drugs by having her stay with him in Los Angeles during recording. But the addiction proved too powerful to resist. And while she was enjoying the dazzling lights and the love of her fans, Janis Joplin's life was a sad tune, a haunting melody of missed chances and self-destruction. There was a time at Woodstock on August 17, 1969, when she nervously waited backstage. She was overwhelmed by nerves and turned to heroin and alcohol for comfort. When it was her turn to perform, the crowd was excited, but the reality was disappointing. Her once powerful voice sounded weak, and her dancing, once full of passion, was now unsteady. Her problems continued, affecting her performance. Even singing with Tina Turner, an icon herself, didn't sound right because of the drugs. In June 1970, Janis Joplin had her last performance in the Bay Area. It was a mixture of sadness and goodbye before she went to Brazil with her friend Linda Gravenites. While in Brazil, she fell in love with David Nyhouse and briefly experienced happiness. She managed to stop using drugs and alcohol for a short time, and it was like a warm break for her tired heart. But when she returned to the United States, her problems with addiction were waiting for her. David Nyhouse, who saw her struggle, watched her fall even deeper into her issues at her home in California. Their love couldn't survive the weight of addiction. It was poisoned by the substances that had trapped her. But she soon found love in the arms of Peggy Caserta, who also had problems with drugs. And of course, this made her life even more complicated. Janis Joplin decided to keep striving for a better career, so she started a new band called Full Tilt Boogie in 1970. People loved their music, and she got a lot of praise from fans and experts. But despite all the applause and compliments, a dark feeling stayed with her. Even though she said she was not drinking anymore, she was still struggling with alcohol, which was like a silent problem she couldn't shake off. While the world celebrated her success, she was still troubled by her own issues. Her love life was also like a turbulent sea, always tossing her about with challenges. Whether she was in relationships with men or women, they were often clouded by a profound sense of loneliness, anger, and betrayal. The climax of her struggles arrived on that fateful day, October 4th, 1970, when she was discovered lifeless on the cold floor of her room at the Landmark Motor Hotel. It was a tragic and abrupt end to a brilliant life at the tender age of 27. The autopsy uncovered a shocking truth: a heroin overdose possibly made worse by the harsh company of alcohol. Although it was officially called an accident, some friends had doubts and questions about the cause of her death. Janis Joplin left a musical legacy that strongly influenced many artists and fans across generations. Despite all her problems, she worked hard on her album Pearl with the help of producer Paul Rothschild. Sadly, she didn't live to see it finished. This album, the last one she made before she died, became really famous and had songs like Me and Bobby McGee and Mercedes-Benz that people still love today. It reminds us of the amazing talent we lost. If you enjoyed this video, there's a good chance you'll also enjoy the one showing on your screen right now. Click, enjoy, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. See you on the next one.